You know, sometimes when somebody receives prophetic ministry, and I want you to just kind of watch this in yourself, there is definitely place for you to jump into a prophetic word that's given over somebody else. And I think that we're really big on that. Like if you hear a good word, like grab it. And I'm all about that. But I also think that there's a time where we get to be strategic about what God is releasing. And sometimes you can, and I want you guys to kind of hear me on this, because this is like a little bit of mature teaching moment, okay? Sometimes you can hear a word and then you want to connect to that word because there's a power behind it. But if you align yourself with a promise over somebody else that's not actually part of the call of God on your life, you will create a soul tie with that person that will pull you off course. Okay? That's just... yeah, right. That got all of your attention because there was a little bit of like funky in the room and it just pulled everything together. If somebody gets a prophetic word, and it can be really powerful, you can really love it. Like somebody gets a word about how they're going to be a prophetess and the next Deborah, the next David, and they're going to the nations, right? And you're like, game time, I want that word. Here's the problem, right? I've done it. Charity Cook, we used to like share words. We like made an agreement, like my word's your word. Because we were like the only two girls, like single girls in our second year class. And so, you know, sometimes single women get overlooked. Or they get a lot of words about being a children's minister.
24, 3. Or 324.
Okay. Yeah. So Lamentations 3:24 says, "The Lord is my portion, says my soul, therefore I will hope in him. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him." So I want you to understand that you're a spirit, soul, and body person, right? You're a three-part harmony, okay? And when all your cylinders are running in every part of who you are, you actually release a sound that is unique to you. Okay, three-part harmony, right? So you actually release like a unique sound that's very distinctive in the atmosphere. But a lot of times what happens is that we filter our spirit man and what God is speaking to us through the spirit, through the soulish realm, right? So we filter it through our past experiences, our emotions, or a mental process. When we process it through those three places, what happens is that we actually distort what the spirit is saying. Okay, are we okay? Everybody okay? All right. So I'm going to read this again. Lamentations 3:24. "The Lord is my portion, says my soul, therefore I will hope in him. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord, and it is good for a man that he bear the yoke of his youth." Okay, so what I want you to understand is that in the process of your life and in the promises of the Lord over your life, a lot of times the zeal, the hope of our youth wanes and it gets discouraged when we don't see the fulfilled words of the Lord. Then we have a tendency, right, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So then we hear somebody else's prophetic word and we actually want to latch onto that word because we feel the hope of salvation in that word. Okay, have you ever done this? Have you ever been guilty of this? You hear somebody else's word and you're like, game time, that's for me, right? Okay, which sometimes, yeah, it is. But we have to be wise and discerning because sometimes it's not for us. And we filter the anointing and what God is releasing through the room through our soul, through our expectations, our past experiences, our hope for the future, and what's been deferred or diminished over time and God not fulfilling something. When we hear another prophetic word over somebody and we attach ourselves to that word, we actually anchor ourselves to them and we create a soul tie with them, which in turn can hold you back from your real appointed destiny and can hold them back from their appointed destiny because now your success or your failure becomes in a very obscure spiritual way tied to them and you become diminished in your potential. That's for the mature, right? So some of us need to go back through a little bit and we need to take a little bit of a step back. And at some point today, We need to say, Father, any place where I've aligned myself with a hope and promise that was really specifically for somebody else, God, right now I break any tie that I put there because you are my portion. So the Lord is my portion. So that means that what the Lord is a portion for me is different than the portion that the Lord is for Ethan. Okay? There's a difference in that because we are unique. Listen, Paul says in Galatians, he actually talks about the unique revelation of the gospel of Jesus Christ that we have each received. The DNA and the gospel itself is consistent. The revelation is unique to each person because he then goes on to warn the Galatians. He says, if another person or an angel comes to you preaching a different gospel, do not be subject to it. Do not fall prey to it because you had a revelatory experience with the Lord that brought you into salvation and to knowing Jesus as the all in all, the way, the truth, the life, right? So, but the problem is going back to the very first thing we talked about at the very beginning. When we slip into the trap of comparison, we hear somebody else's word, we see their experience. Now, all of a sudden, we actually make the authority of their encounter supreme to the voice of the Holy Spirit in our life. It gets a little muddy, right? It gets a little muddy, but it's okay because God is calling us to mature. See, God's calling you to mature. That's why it's been uncomfortable lately in life, because he's placing a demand on you to mature. He's demanding that you mature. Sometimes the Lord is good. He gives us options. Then he puts us in environments that make a demand of us, that require that we either rise, right? Fight or flight. We either meet what's happening head on and battle through it, or we flee from it. But make no mistake, he is so obsessive, compulsive with you that he will never turn away from the call on your life. He has OCD with your life and with your call. It's a disorder. He's named it. He's claimed it. He's in it. He's not walking away from it because he is obsessed with who you are and you becoming the fullness of who you're supposed to be. He's fixated on your life. And he doesn't navigate you, and he doesn't want you to navigate life. Life is not meant to be navigated through. It's just not. I talk to so many people who say to me, Annie, I just don't like confrontation. How many people in here don't like confrontation? How many people, when you have to go into confrontation, like another person comes out and it's not pretty? Hence, you don't like confrontation. But the truth is, if we are going to be, going back to the beginning, a culturally relevant people who have influence and authority, we have to understand that confrontation isn't a four-letter word. It's not a dirty little secret, and it's actually not to be avoided. In order for us to move forward and be a people of purpose who break through in the atmosphere and actually change the world, we have to understand and sharpen our tools and be finely tuned, right? A three-part harmony, spirit, soul, and body person, moving together accurately and effectively, releasing the kingdom of God wherever we go. Because it's not just enough to say, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, if we're not actually willing to walk outside of the four walls of the church and release a picture and allow God to paint a canvas picture on us of what his glory really looks like. Okay? Are we okay? We have to be a relevant people. We have to be. We have to be ahead of the curve. I love some of the movies that are coming out. I love what's happening in media, but I have a problem. A lot of the Christian movies that have come out, the world won't go and see. So now we're just subletting ourselves again. We're dividing ourselves again. So now we're what? We're going to create a Hollywood just for Christians? Where Kirk Cameron's the king? I'm going to be honest, okay? And so I know a lot of people have issue with Noah, right? The movie that's coming out. And they say it's not biblical and stuff like that. I understand that. But there is a message that's being released that's opening up a conversation and a dialogue. And you can't make a backroom version of the movie of Noah and think it's going to hit the silver screen. That's just not going to happen. It's not going to have the influence that you want it to have. All it's going to be is an inbred sound moving through the church again. Right, so there's a lot of discomfort that God brings to us when he's getting ready to expand us into a place of greater influence. Okay? But if we don't understand what God is giving us and how he wants to use us, we will never fully be able to move in the ways that he wants us to move into. We won't ever fully be able to have influence and have a voice the way God wants us to have a voice. We'll be constantly trying to navigate and making it comfortable for ourselves. We are a peculiar people. We are a strange priesthood. We are unusual. We are called to set trends, not follow them. Right? Okay. But in order for us to set them, we have to be aware of what society is responding to and how it is moving forward in today's culture and in today's society. How many of you read the Twilight books? Nobody's going to raise their hand. I read them all. Game time. Watched all the movies. Twilight, did it. Okay? No, not the Twilight Zone. Close, though. Twilight, vampires, werewolves, okay? Anybody going to be so bold? Now that I said it, you're in it. Come on, I knew it. I always ask, and then nobody raises their hand, and then I say I did it, and everybody's like, yeah, okay, me too. So I like to be a close, but not. But it's okay. I'll give you 50% on that one. Okay, so here's where I'm at. I like to know Divergent, right? That just came out. I read the book. Okay, good. Listen, here's why. I like to know what's happening in culture and society. Because the sons of Issachar, who were the high council of Deborah, at the time when Israel could no longer respond to a king, so God put judges in place, and Deborah was one of those judges, and the sons of Issachar became part of her council. The sons of Issachar understood the times, and they knew what to do. Because they understood the times. It doesn't say that the times happened around them and they navigated the times. It says they understood the times and then they knew what to do because they understood the times and what was happening. So I'm a person who likes to be culturally relevant. I like to understand what's going on. You know, if it's like the newest single, I like to know it. I mean, I just like to do. I like to be culturally relevant. I do. I want to be a voice of change. You can't be a voice of change while speaking an old dialect. Remember Back to the Future? Yes. Remember when he goes to the future? And he's out of sync. He has to change his clothes. He has to learn how to ride a hoverboard. Anybody see the thing on YouTube about the new hoverboard that's getting released? Did you watch that thing? Crazy, right? Super awesome. Scary. I know. So Twilight comes out, and I'm going to read the books because it's sweeping the nation by storm, and I want to know what's going on. And so I read the books, and, you know, I read through them, and I read what's going on with it, and read the book, and you know, I enjoy it. It's like a good story, whatever. It doesn't sway my faith, because my faith is built in Jesus. He's my rock, my cornerstone, so I'm not all of a sudden thinking I need to become a vampire or like a werewolf, right? Okay, I'm not like getting visitations by werewolves. I'm just not. I'm the redeemed of the Lord. I say so. I say I get to be culturally relevant, and it doesn't have to sway my spiritual walk. I don't get conned into a mythological understanding of love because I have real love and I've experienced real love. But I want to understand what the world's saying. So I would go, at the time I was traveling and flying a lot, and everywhere I would go, I would see people with a Twilight book, right? So I would stop and ask people and ask them, like, why are you reading those books? Have you read it? What's going on? So one time I was in a layover in Chicago, 8-hour layover. It was awesome. Flights got canceled, slept on a cot in Chicago Airport, O'Hare. That's just a good time. That's just like a good moment in life, right? Character building. So I'm sitting there. This poor girl sitting next to me. She's 24 years old. She's scared to death. Doesn't fly that much. She's like first time on a plane in 3 years. It's like, what are we going to do? She has a Twilight book. So I talked to her. And I said, hey, so can I ask you a question? She said, yeah. I said, why do you think these books are taking the nation? Like, why do you think everybody is reading these books? I think it has to do with vampires and werewolves, right? Like the whole church said. Like Satan's coming because Twilight's sweeping the nation. And now people are going to start like growing fangs and like, right? I mean, this is what the church said though, right? She looked at me and she said, this is what I know. And I heard this answer every time I asked a person. This is the answer I heard. She said, the truth is This is about a love that will never die and is relentless. And that's what I want to read about.
Wow.
So while the church was busy shutting its door to Twilight because they were scared that people were going to try and attach hair to their arms to turn into a werewolf, Twilight was releasing a message of never-ending love to a generation that has been starved for what relentless love will look like. While the church was scared of Harry Potter released a series of books that actually took a father figure who went to an orphan son who had greatness hidden inside of him, and the father figure called the son out of where he was, put him in a place of education and fathering to pull the life-changing, saving power that the world was going to need. That father pulled it to the surface in an orphan son named Harry Potter. I understand all the witchcraft associated with it, but understand this, while the church was scared, Harry Potter raised a generation that was fatherless. I mean, that's just the truth. You can ask any person who is between the ages of 24 and 35 about Harry Potter, and 80% of them have read Harry Potter. And why do they keep reading it? Why do they read it into their young adult years? Because it was a story of hope, and it was a story of greatness. And if you look at the demographics, that generation, right, let's go 20 to 35, that 15-year age gap is the most fatherless generation that has walked on the planet, who are now trying to father a generation, but they had no fathers to father them. So you have orphans trying to raise sons and daughters. But while the church was scared and they couldn't figure out how to get ahead of the times because they were misunderstanding what was happening, because this doesn't look right and this doesn't feel right, J.K. Rowling wrote a book that called Gold Out of Orphan Sons and Raised a Generation. And the church should have been at the forefront leading the charge. And so now when we have artists who were saying, man, you need to go into Hollywood and you need to move into Hollywood, but what happens when they don't sing about Jesus as my Savior and my best friend? Are we still going to be able to support them? Because the world is looking for a creative, true encounter that will stir them spirit, soul, and body to bring them into a place of understanding with the Lord, because there's such a misalignment, and the world has gotten so out of shape in understanding that your soul is not the driving force, but it is your spirit man that should be leading the charge. That's why we sing songs like My Soul Sings, because we are declaring a thing over ourselves so it can be established that my soul, my emotions, my experiences, my responses, even they sing to the Lord, because greater is he who's in me than he that's in the world. Greater is the Spirit of the living God inside of me that drives me and moves me forward than my experiential and emotional prisons of the past. I don't have to navigate through life and navigate through emotions, but I can call order and alignment over myself. And when I call order and alignment over myself, when I call my spirit man to the forefront, now my soul and my body come into alignment under that. But if we are a bipolar church, we will never have a voice. If we come into our churches and we sing about the love of God on Sunday, but we go home and we're fighting with our wife on Monday, or we're depressed all the other days, or we become a hidden agenda orphan people, we will lose our voice and our place of influence. Our message could be good, but our methodology could be bad. And then we will have lost the actual fight. So God has been bringing us through a season, and he's been bringing a lot of you through a season where conviction of the message is clear. You know the word. Now he wants to sharpen your method. He wants to actually wake up a lot of slumbering spirits. So I want you to look at one thing, and then I want to go through something systematically for you, because I want you to understand when you come into a place of alignment, what you can actually carry and release. Okay, so this is called revelatory teaching. So your spirit should be receiving, and you're maturing in this moment Do you hear what I'm saying? How many of you feel your mind stretching to keep up with what's being said in the room? So when the spirits of wisdom and revelation come into the room, the two of the 7 living spirits of God, when those 2 lampstands come into the room, they come as precursors oftentimes to help usher in the other 5 spirits. Okay, but you only get the other 5 if you take time with those first 2 so that you can get the fullness of what God wants to release. Okay, so when wisdom and revelation comes, the revelation comes first and the wisdom comes second, because the revelation partners with the understanding, and then the wisdom is the doing. Okay? Some of you need to actually study the 7 spirits of God. Okay, that's good. That's good. So I want to read you this. I want to go to...
Dinner's not coming to 4:15, 4:30. So don't worry.
Game time.
Yeah, don't worry.
What are we at, 3:15?
Yeah, you got time.
Who's hot?
Everybody.
Okay. We were in Thailand, and it's so hot there. I was sweating so much. Alicia always jokes she's going to carry a sweat rag with me. With her. Okay. Okay, I want to read this, Song of Solomon, 3 verse 1. And I want to talk to you, I want to continue on in this vein of bringing like alignment to your soul, to that soulish place, okay? You okay? We feel good? Okay. Okay, tell me when you're there. I'm going to take a drink here. Listen, way to be culturally relevant. She said, drop it like it's hot. We were in Thailand, and I was preaching this message, and I asked them, in Thailand, in America, we have this phrase, it's called a hot mess. And I was like, do you guys have this in Thailand? So then I had to explain through translation what a hot mess was to the Thai people, and when the women got it, they were like, ah! And they were like, oh, and they were like hitting each other and like, you know. So I want to read this. Okay, Song of Solomon chapter 3, verse 1. Okay, on my bed by night I sought him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. I will rise now and go about the city in the streets and in the squares, and I will seek him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. The watchmen found me as they went about the city. Have you seen him whom my soul loves? Scarcely had I passed them when I found him whom my soul loves and held him and would not let him go until I had brought him into my mother's house and into the chamber of her who conceived me. Verse 5, I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or the does of the field, that you do not stir up or awaken love until it pleases, or some translations, until it so desires. Okay, so a lot of times we have heard this passage taught on regarding sexual sin and purity. But I want you to get a little bit of a picture of what's happening here. In this moment, there comes a singular focus on the woman. Okay, so she is not spastic in her focus. She is singularly focused, and it drives her forward. Okay? So she is not like a pendulum who is up and who is down. She is not like, she's not going from emotional high to emotional low. She is driven and unkept in her purpose. She searches the city. She finds the watchmen. Do you know who the watchmen are? They're like the guards. They're not like just dudes with like, togas on. They've got like armor and swords, like hardcore, intense looking, think like 300, but with like a lot more like armor on, intense, walking around. She stops them. Have you seen him? She is focused with purpose and with passion. Have you ever been pulled over by a police officer? Yes. And like instantaneously, you're like a moron and you have no clue what's happening? How many of you cried when you get pulled over by tears just come? You're like, sweet Jesus, I'm going to prison tonight. Tell my mom I love her. I will write letters. Huh? Yes, and like, it does. How many of you, as soon as the lights come on, you're not sitting there thinking, I didn't do anything wrong. Yes. What did there was something wrong with me. Orange looks good on me. I can handle this. I can do this, right? So imagine that she is running and the watchmen find her. She's not like, well, good evening, officer. What was I doing wrong? Here's my license and registration, my blood type, my AAA card. Whatever you need. I've got like a Costco card in here too. You could take, I've got some, gift certificates. I'm not trying to pay you off though. So just everything in my wallet, it's yours. Take it. Here's my house, my keys. I have a dog. It's yours. Whatever you want, officer. But she has this moment where the officers find her, but she is so driven. She does not let them talk. Have you seen him? Have you seen him? There is not an authority in the land that can keep her from pursuing what she is focused after. All of her intentions and all of her focus gets deadlocked in this moment. And we end the passage in verse 5 by saying, I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or the does of the field, that you do not stir up or awaken love until it pleases. Listen, the reason why it says this is not because sexual sin is really the primary focus. It is because there is an understanding that is revealed here in the soulish realm, in the spirit of your soul and of your emotions. See, because emotional engagement is a choice. That's why Jesus could command that you go and you love one another. I can't command you to hate, right? But love is only brought to its fullness when you make a choice to engage with it.
Wow. Yep. Amen.
Okay? So I can't command you to feel sorry for someone. I can't command empathy. But Jesus commanded that you love one another. Right? Because love is not just a feeling that you have. In fact, it's not really a feeling that you have at all, but it's actually a completion of the Lord inside of you, making you a focused person. Love is the greatest driving force on earth. It is greater than fear. It is greater than panic. It is greater than any other thing that you can awaken on the earth. The most powerful pictures that we ever see in our life are when love is enacted and enabled. How many of you here saw the movie The Patriot? Okay, there's a scene in this movie. Now, I was in ministry school. One day the Lord spoke to me and said, I want you to watch The Patriot. How many of you love when the Lord speaks to you like that? Yes, Father, game time. In Blu-ray, is regular DVD okay? Like, what do you want me to do, God? I'll do it. Do I get popcorn with this? Or are we fasting? A burger? Can I go out to eat? Bring it back? Have a moment? So he puts The Patriot on. Or he doesn't, because I put The Patriot on with him. Right. It was really an encounter. Jesus was like, hey, I got this. And it's like... They're like, you're really spiritual. I'm like, yeah. So the Lord says, put the movie on. So I put the movie on and I sit down. How many of you remember in the beginning of the movie, it's first probably 30, 45 minutes, when Mel Gibson's son is killed by the British officer. And he takes the two other little boys. And they take like 8 guns or something and a hatchet, right? Okay, it's like one of the most gruesome scenes. They go in the woods, and so the 13-year-old boy has just been shot by a British officer, if you haven't seen the movie. And Mel Gibson takes his 2 younger sons, and he says to them, he says, listen, he says, stay here. And he says this phrase to them. He says, aim small, miss small. Aim small, miss small. Be singularly focused. Don't aim for the chest. Aim for the head. Don't just hope you're going to hit it in the stomach. Aim for the heart. Aim small, miss small. It's like and the boys look at the father and they are like ashen. There's like sheer terror in their face. They're like, sweet Lord, what are we about to do right now? Can you imagine being like 8 and your dad takes you in the woods and gives you like 3 muskets? It says aim small, miss small. You're like, a hunch, we're not going to be hunting deer today. Am I right, Dad? Am I? Did I get it? Okay, I'm just wondering. So he's like, they're sitting there. And the British officers come through. They have the oldest son in handcuffs. They're going to take him off. They're going to kill him and make a martyr out of him, or whatever example. And the officers come through. Mel Gibson, the 2 sons, they open fire. They kill everybody in the room. But there's one officer who gets freaked out, and he runs. How many of you remember this scene? And he runs after him, throws a tomahawk, hits the guy in the back. The guy goes down in the river, and Mel Gibson comes and unleashes a fury on this man. Yeah. Now, in this moment, the Lord speaks to me as clear as day, and he says, that is how I feel about avenging my son's death in your life. Wow. I am relentless with you. I will not stop with you. I am focused with you. That'll change the way you pray right away. That'll impact you. You know what I'm saying? Because now when the Lord speaks, right, it's not just him saying, hey, listen, I love you and I want to give you, right? So if you could muster up some hope. Now the Lord says to you in this moment, go ahead. Give me an opportunity to avenge my son's death in your life and prove and display that his resurrection truly is more powerful than the grave. And there is this exchange that gets to happen with us when we are willing to come under this understanding with the Lord, where he is calling us not to be an emotionally bipolar or spiritually bipolar people, but he is putting a demand on us as a people now that what we have experienced and what has caused freedom, we now make a choice to awaken love inside of us and allow it to cause a singular focus on how we move forward in life. Have you ever had those times where you have an encounter with the Lord, but you're still experiencing something you're dealing with, and you feel like, boom, I'm like slingshotting here? Have you ever had a time where you go to have quiet time with God, but another image pops in your mind? Have you ever had a time, this is like true of women a lot, you go to have a time with the Lord, and what comes up is the list of things you have to do? Ever had that? It's annoying, right? You're like, well, maybe God's telling me to do more. Yes, I'm sure that's what God is telling you. In your quiet time, you're not working hard enough. I'm positive, actually. But there is this thing that God is calling us to right now, where he is calling us to a singular focus. He is calling us to be finite and excellent in how we move forward and how we release the kingdom of God. It's not just enough to have a good message if your method of delivery does not attract those who are lost to come into an encounter with God. Part of the most attractive thing about what happens into this house is that people come, look, the chairs aren't set up in rows, there's like blankets, and it can be unnerving, except for there's an attraction to it that allows people to come into a place of freedom, right? You can sit in the back and be stove cold Steve Austin, or you can come up to the front and totally like unleash and allow God to move, right? It's part of the attraction of this. But when we move outside of here, how are we bringing people into a transformational moment with Jesus? Okay? So now, we're going to get into some scripture. Is everybody okay? Does everybody feel focused? Do we need like coffee, bathroom break, anything like that? Feeling good? We put the air conditioning on. Better already. Okay. Singularly focused. Do not awaken love until it so desires. Here's the deal. Love desires to be awoken inside of you. It's time. It's time for you to awaken it, to partner with it, to make a choice to love beyond your comfort level and beyond your comfort zone. Because when you do that, it causes things to come together. It actually causes alignment to come into your life. The thing to do, so how do you do that? You need to look at the areas and say, Father, show me what areas where I need to choose to awaken love. Because when I awaken love, love will overtake bitterness, and love will overtake offense, and love will overtake hurt, and love will overtake unforgiveness, and love will overtake self-doubt, and love will overtake self-loathing, and love will overtake comparison, and love will overtake bitterness, and love will overtake the mind of the flesh, and will bring in the mind of the spirit. See, when I awaken love and it so desires to be awoken, it becomes the most driving force in my life. Have you ever met somebody who is just dating the wrong person and you just want to like beat them and say, what the heck is wrong with you? Every person on the planet knows that this girl is no good for you or this guy is no good for you. What is wrong with you? Like everybody on the planet's like, don't get married, don't get married. And they're like, we're married. And you're like, I guess the whole world is wrong. Why? Because once you awaken love, it can overtake you and it can actually knock your senses out, except for, that's bad, except for when it's good. When the Lord tells you to awaken love, which he has, because he has commanded you to go and love, why did he command you to go and love? Because there's a precedent set for you in Scripture in Song of Solomon, that when you awaken love inside of you, it makes you a driven woman who is, or man, who is relentless in their pursuit of what God has and what he wants to reveal. Right? Okay? So it's very simple. So practically, you go back through your life and you say, where am I not loving? Where has offense overtaken love? Where has bitterness overtaken love? Where has anger overtaken love? Where has self-righteousness overtaken love? Self-righteousness is a big thing, right? Okay. Where has experience overtaken love? Now, God, I awaken love. Can you command love to be awoken? I believe Jesus said you could. I mean, take it up with him if you don't believe it, not me. So now I'm going to mandate, I'm going to declare a thing and it will be established. I'm going to James my way. I'm going to use my tongue like a two-edged sword to rightly divide right from wrong and truth. And I'm going to bring love into a place of acceleration in my life where it is my focus and it overtakes and usurps every other motivation. Why? Because when it becomes the usurping force in my life and it causes me to focus, what happens is that now I enter into a moment where the other things that would cause distraction and keep me out of alignment begin to break off of me. Now I don't navigate life because love is my driving force. And love doesn't navigate. Love plows through and it brings light in the darkness. It becomes very simple. Okay? Everybody okay? Okay, so see how we're stretching? Okay, so we're setting the stage because I want to talk about now when I have this as my driving force and when I have this as my purpose in moving forward, now I want to talk about understanding what God is actually setting us up to do in the area of influence and why encountering God up until this point has been so important. Okay, are you all okay? Are we still good? Do we feel our spiritual IQ improving as the day is going forward? Yeah. Do we feel some emotional things coming into alignment? Yeah. How many of you the Lord just spoke to you about a relationship where you need to awaken love over it and declare love over or a place in your life? I just need to awaken love here. I just need to say, love, be awoken. I wake you up because I am going to be singularly focused. And where there was offense, love is now going to drive me forward so that I don't navigate the offenses and keep myself held back. Some of you need to awaken love over yourself because your self-doubt is so strong and your image of yourself is so low that you have no motivation. So if you find yourself to be a non-motivated person who becomes apathetic, when apathy sets in, atrophy sets in. When atrophy sets in, you want the Lord to release revival on you, but you're not strong enough to carry out what God wants to do. So you wonder why you're crying out for the nations and God's not giving you the nations when you haven't cleaned your room. Why did he tell you to clean your room? Because you host the power of the King inside of you, and there is a wisdom and a strength inside of you, and your environment should present and release an accurate picture of who you are on the inside. Okay, so I had a school director, his name's Max Myers. Anybody know who Max Myers is? Max Myers was our school director when I was in ministry school with Randy Clark. Max came in one day and he said, the Lord told me that I was going to move in the area of politics and influence and I needed to start dressing the part. Max went from wearing like jeans and a sweater to a suit, tie every single day. Where you're stuffy. No, he wants to speak in Washington and he wants to change like policy in Washington, right? So he wants to move forward. So he's becoming singularly focused. So the enemy tries to come in with self-doubt and say that you can't make it and you can't be a person of influence, but Max has awoken love in those areas, right? I have this saying, we say this in our ministry a lot with our interns. We're asking for revival, but we don't actually have a plan set in place for what we're going to do when God drops like $5,000 in our lap. This was something the Lord really convicted me about. So as a ministry, we sat down and we started to make plans. And Alicia will tell you, I am constantly a number cruncher. I have a plan every step of the way. I always have a plan. We started out with nothing, like literally not like $1 to buy a pencil, like nothing in our ministry, okay? We started out September, $0. Where is it? March, 8 months later, not quite, like nothing. And the Lord started to speak to me, right? Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision down so that he who reads it may run. You want to be accelerated, you need to write vision down. So I started to develop plans for everything. God, here's what I'm going to do when we get $1,000. Here's what I'm going to do when we get $100. Here's what I'm going to do when we get $5,000, when we get $20,000, when we get $1 million, when we get $5 million. I have plans down the line. If somebody gives me a house, this is what we're going to do. If somebody gives me a car, this is what I'm going to do. I know I have plans for everything. Why? Because why am I going to entrust you with $500 if I don't see that there's any stewarding resources inside of you to multiply the $500? Now, he's a good father, and he gives generously to all without finding fault. But in this day, he is looking for people who he can entrust at the next level. That's what favor means. God entrusts you with more responsibility. It doesn't mean everything goes your way. It means God entrusts you with more responsibility. Favor means God entrusts you with more responsibility. Favor means God entrusts you with more responsibility. So in our ministry, I say, listen, guys, if you want the Father to allow you to drive the family sports car, you need to first bring the family truck home cleaned up and gassed up. But a lot of times we bring the family truck home and we have McDonald's wrappers in it and we've used all the gas and we didn't fill the gas tank up. And then we wonder why God is not giving us revival for nations. How dare we cry out for nations? What value do we have on revival for nations if we can't even be responsible with getting to work on time and keeping our room clean? What you do in the secret, he sees, and it makes way for how he will use you and exploit his goodness on you in the public. Okay, this is for the mature believer. If you want to go to the next level, you've got to waken yourself up. It's time to awaken love inside of you because you have to be singularly focused so you can have a voice of influence. So 8 months ago, we had nothing. I spoke at an event. Somebody handed me a check. I forgot about it. I put it in my back pocket. I went to wash the jeans I was wearing 3 days later. I decided to check my pockets. I pulled out a check for $5,000. That would have been a mistake, huh? Wash those pants. I took a picture of it. I sent it to our staff. I was like, look what we got. I can't believe this. I was freaking out. We were pumped. And it started a chain reaction. Boom. And we didn't have people giving us checks for $50. We had $1,000 checks. I bet we've had, I don't know, $15,000, $20,000 checks just written. People just saying, I just feel like I'm supposed to write you this check, right? Okay, so this is where we're at. God is moving. We're in Thailand. I get a phone call. And I get a phone call on my phone, and one of our other staff members who's not here at Charity, she comes to me, she says, listen, it's this person, you need to call them. You need to answer the phone. So I take it, I said, okay, I'm going to call them. Now, I answer the phone, and they say, hey, Annie, it's so-and-so. And I said, hey, how are you? And they said, good. Did I catch you at a bad time? I said, well, I'm in Bangkok right now. And they were like, oh, ha, 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 ha. They said, well, listen, the Lord spoke to me, wanted me to invest something in you. I just want to know I'm making a one-time contribution to your ministry. Where should it go? Now, listen, we are behind. Our website stinks. We can't do online giving. I've been frustrated, but I still have plans. I am still focused. I am singularly focused. I have awakened love. Offense cannot have a hold on me because I am focused and I am driven and I am motivated, and love overtakes doubt, and it overtakes my bank account, and it overtakes everything else. It glosses. I have love-colored glasses, and it motivates me and drives me forward. So I say, okay. So we come back from Thailand. We go, and we're back, and we're like kind of doing our thing and whatever, and it's like 2 days before we're supposed to go on a trip, and our staff has given everything. We have given everything. We moved from Houston to Nashville because God called us to be a relevant voice in this generation. And if you're going to move to Germany to be a missionary, you'd learn German. Well, we want to be a catalyst for starting a multi-generational revival, and media and music is the language of generations. So we are going to move to Nashville and learn the language of music and media so we can speak relevantly and release the kingdom of God in a bold and a fresh way. I have a social work degree. I don't sing. I don't do it. I'm not musical. I know nothing, but I know the kingdom, and I have awakened love to see the power of God move in a multi-generational movement. So we're home. I mean, we are like every resource we have. I am maxed out in everything. I have no savings. I sold my house. My house hasn't closed yet. I am down. I've overdrawn my bank account like 8 times in 1 week. You know that that's a bad week, you know? Like, I am borrowing money from my parents, from like my dowry, basically. Like, this is the money that we've put aside for your wedding. I'm taking money out of that because I am so focused. I am in. There is not one part of me that is not in to God releasing a worldwide movement. Spirit, soul, body, every part of me is motivated and running towards this like unrelenting, like a woman looking at the watchmen in the night. Like, I don't care what the bank says. I don't care that people say, but you don't know music. I don't care what the authorities say or what the setup structure of the day says, because I have awoken love, and I have called my soul into alignment, and I have called my body into alignment. Well, Annie, that's easy for you because you move in the prophetic. Walk one day in my shoes, and you will sing a different song. Live the last year I lived. I walked through the hardest year of my life. 2013 was the hardest year I have ever lived in my entire life. So, 2 weeks ago, I get a phone call from our director of finance. You are never going to guess what I'm holding in my hand. What are you holding in your hand? Remember this person that you used to know? Yeah, I remember they called me when I was in Thailand. They told me they were going to make a donation. They made a donation for $20,000. Like, write the vision down so that he who reads it may run, so that God can accelerate. Have a plan so that God can entrust you. Awaken love, become excellent, and become an aligned person so that God can entrust you with the desires of his heart, because he desires greatly to call all his orphan sons and daughters home, and he is in the process of running out to meet them. He is running. He is accelerating. He is moving forward. But are you and I ready to run with him? Are you? Okay. So, $20,000 is great. So we sat down as a staff the other day with my 2 of my senior leaders, and we said, okay, let's get it out. What's our $200,000 plan? What's our $2 million plan? So now we've decided that we're looking into how to start a house flipping company. Right. Come on now. I want to be wise. I want to sow. But I want him to look at me and say, she's ready for more responsibility. Right? I want to be ready. And I'll do whatever it takes. I have done whatever it takes. And I will continue to live that way. I will go in the secret place. I will get so overwhelmingly intoxicated because I have awoken love. And every place where love tries to contradict what he has awoken inside, or every time everything else tries to contradict the love that has been awoken inside of me, I will stop and call that thing into alignment, because I will be focused and unrelenting in where the Lord is driving me and how he is sending me. And as a people, we have to make some decisions about being focused and unrelenting. Do you hear what I'm saying? there has to be some resolve inside of you. And we talked about it last night, but we have to make some decisions. So I want to talk through this really quickly today. I want us to unpack. So get your Bibles ready, okay? I want you to go, and I want us to start in Colossians 1. And I want to systematically walk through some things so you can get some understanding. Everybody good? Yeah. We feel good? Yeah. It's like clear air in here, right? Yeah. Feel that? It's like clean and clear and crisp. You can breathe better, right? That's when the clarity of the Lord comes, it's because he's actually calling you to move to a higher level. Okay, so the kabod comes, the heavy comes, right? Then the honey comes. So the heavy comes, the honey comes first, then the heavy comes. So first it comes like thick and good, and it kind of makes your joints feel like you're going to be oozy and whatever. Then the kabod glory comes, and it comes in heavy, because what it actually does is it compresses everything down in your life. It levels your playing field, and then once that comes, there's a Shekinah moment where the clarity of the Lord comes. See, there is no confusion with the presence of God. Okay? He's not double-minded. He's not a double-minded God. He's not schizophrenic in who he is for you. He doesn't have multiple personality disorder. He is the same. He who is and was and will be. He is unrelenting. Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. There's no turning back from who he is in your life. Okay, Colossians 1, we know this passage, but let's read it because I want us to then backtrack and legally walk through what we have access to when we become unrelenting, okay? Now, 1:24. Now I rejoice in my sufferings for your sake, and in my flesh I am filling up what is lacking in Christ's afflictions for the sake of his body, that is the church, of which I became a minister according to the stewardship from God that was given to me for you to make the word of God fully known. 26, the mystery hidden for the ages and generations, but now revealed to his saints. Verse 27, to them God chose to make known how great among the Gentiles are the riches of the glory of this mystery, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Okay, so now let's go back for a second. Verse 26, the mystery hidden for the ages and generations, but now in a new covenant is revealed to who? His saints. What is revealed to his saints? Verse 27, to them God chose to make known how great among the Gentiles are the riches of the glory of this mystery. What is going to be the revealing of the glory of God? It's not actually going to come in the display through the saints. To them, God chose to make known how great among the Gentiles are the riches of the glory of this mystery. The full revealing of the new covenant of God's glory and all who he is only going to come to completion when it is fully revealed through the Gentiles, those who don't believe and are considered unclean and are considered unworthy. It's not about the saints, those who have found themselves and completed all the tasks set prior to the new covenant. The glory is only going to be fully revealed when we pull the Gentiles, those who do not know and are not believing, into the picture. It is an incomplete representation of God's glory until the lost come home and his glory falls on them. All of the glory we've seen up until this point, including Old Covenant, is incomplete. Why? Because to them, God chose to make known how great among the Gentiles are the riches of the glory of this mystery, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Now listen, it could have been written differently. It could have said, which is Christ, to make known among the Gentiles are the riches of the glory of this mystery, comma, which is Christ, comma, in you the hope of glory. But there is an agreement and a relationship that gets established. The hope of glory being released, the fullness of that only has the potential to come forth when you recognize that Christ is with you, partnering with you. You are actually the missing key to the fullness of God's glory being revealed on the earth. Which is Christ, this mystery being revealed, comma, which is Christ in you, comma, the hope of glory. It could have been just which is Christ. You know how people say, oh, it's all good, but no, don't praise me. It's all goes to Jesus. No, that's not actually true. Thank you for being willing to partner with Christ so that the fullness of his glory could come to pass. Because if you hadn't made that choice, there would still be an incomplete revelation and revealing of the gospel and the glory of the Lord on the earth. Okay? So here's where we're at. God, we want your glory. We want the fullness of who you are. The fullness of who you are and the revealing of your glory can't actually be revealed until two things happen. The first thing is that you calculate yourself into the equation of God's glory coming. So me plus Jesus equals glory, right? How about this? How about Jesus plus, in parentheses, me plus the Gentiles, parentheses, equals glory. See, it's a progressive equation. I'm talking about legal rights that you have in the Spirit and legal principle. We want to see the glory of God cover the earth like the waters cover the sea. But God sets out an equation for us to do that. It goes beyond your comfort zone, though, because it demands that you not just be a people who are happy here, but you're also happy in line at Target. And you're also happy on the highway. And you're also happy with your mom. And you're also happy at Thanksgiving when your family comes into town and they stink and drive you nuts because they're so nitpicky and they can't stink and stop for a minute just to appreciate the mashed potatoes. Listen, we've all been there, right? Family holidays at their best. Woo! Right? Christ plus, parenthesis, me, plus Gentiles, parenthesis, equals glory. It's not a complete gospel until it goes outside of the four walls of the church. It's not a complete revealing of the goodness of God until it affects the homosexual who just signed his marriage license today with his partner in the state of Michigan. Do you like it or do you not like it? I liked it. Congratulations, you got married. Thank you. But do you know the glory and the love of God? Good, you signed a marriage license. But one day, not too far from here, you're going to find yourself empty. And you're going to remember me liking your post. And boy, I hope you message me. Because now the fullness of the glory gets a chance to be revealed. But if I don't become culturally relevant, there's no ability for the Gentiles to come into the overshadowing of the glory of God. If I keep myself hidden in the panic room of the church and I keep myself tucked away and I'm scared because I don't understand that greater is he who lives in me than he who lives in the world, and I don't understand that the goodness of God and the fullness of who he is only gets fully revealed when I go outside of where I've been in my comfort zone and I'm not mandating that love awakens. And I don't get serious about my life because if I don't recognize that he avenges his son's death as violently in me and in displaying his goodness in me as a father who will go and gun anyone down who comes against his children. If I don't have that understanding, if I don't make a choice to call myself in alignment, I don't get anything else. And so there is a moment with us where God sets this equation up. Okay, so let's backtrack it. Let's go to Genesis 28. All right, everybody okay? Yeah. Do you feel yourself growing? Oh, yeah. Do you feel yourself maturing? Oh, yeah. Do you feel something shifting inside of you? Okay. Let's go back systematically now, and let's look at Scripture and move forward into what God actually is revealing when he says, Christ in you, the hope of glory, right? Because then what is glory? Okay. Genesis 28, verse 10. Jacob left Beersheba and went toward Haran, and he came to a certain place and stayed there that night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down on that place to sleep. Awesome. That's all. Just, right? Okay, just awesome. No memory foam, no gel cooling thing, no nothing. A stone. Also, somehow it was important enough that the Bible mentions it. Okay, so, verse 12. And he dreamed, and behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. Anyways, and behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, the God of Isaac, the land on which you lie. I will give to you and to your offspring. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad the west to the east and to the north and to the south, and in you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. Okay, so legally, Jacob has a dream. Well, it was just a dream. Could have been more powerful. Okay. Sure. Okay, so Jacob has a dream, and in the dream, a couple of key things happen. First of all, we see the introduction of Jacob's ladder. This is where we understand that there is a finite connection that God can establish, where heaven actually connects with earth and earth connects with heaven. Okay? We see this again revisited in the Psalms. I think it's Psalm 51. I have to look the reference up. I think it's Psalm 51 where it talks about Sinai now being in the sanctuary. And it's actually one particular defined moment where the scriptures actually outline and they define that there is an earthly place that is consistently connected to heaven. Because Sinai, as in Mount Sinai, is now in the sanctuary, as in the sanctuary of God in heavenly realms. Okay, so this is Old Testament. So Jacob has a ladder. Ladder is established. Angels of God ascend and descend because there's angels on assignment on the earth. They ascend into heavenly realms so that they can go around the throne of God, so that they can glean again his attributes, his likeness, and his nature, and that they can descend and then continue to move forward, releasing the words of God and equipping and encouraging the saints to move forward in the call in their life. That's just like a little angel snippet. Okay, good. So then what happens in this moment, the ladder gets established, the connection from heaven to earth. And now what happens as a result of that, the byproduct of that ladder, is that Jacob is now able to move forward and take authority over the land and establish the house of God. So Jacob's ladder, when it gets established, equals the house of God gets to move forward and get established with authority. Okay? Hold that. Okay? We're learning. This is called learning. Remember, we got kicked out of the house. We're in school. Okay? This is where we're living because we want to be a culturally relevant people, because we want a worldwide revival. But God's not going to entrust us with a sports car until we can figure out how to handle the family truck. Okay? Okay, good. So, Genesis 28, now let's move forward. Okay? Now let's move to John chapter 1. This is absolutely one of my favorite chapters in the Bible. I spent a lot of time. Now I'm in Luke. Spending a lot of time in Luke, but John was like my fave for a while. Okay, now let's read the story of Philip and Nathanael. Okay, fantastic. John 1, verse 43. Okay, are we ready? The next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee, and he found Philip and said to him, follow me. Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. And Philip found Nathanael and said to him, we have found him of whom Moses and the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. Nathanael said to him, can anything good come out of Nazareth? And Philip said to him, come and see. And Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him and said of him, behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit. Other translations say guile, which is the same meaning as the word poison or pollution. Now Nathanael said to him, how do you know me? And Jesus answered him and said, before Philip called you when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. And Nathanael answered him, Rabbi, you are the Son of God, you are the King of Israel. And Jesus answered him, because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? You will see greater things than these. And he said to him, truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. Okay, so here's where we're at. Ready? We are in John chapter 1. We were in Genesis 28, and before that, we were in Colossians 1. So we were talking about glory. Glory getting released, how it's only released when it comes to the fullness of the Gentile, the lost, the orphaned. They are the key to the fullness of God's glory getting released on the earth, them coming home, right? Genesis 28. Legally, there's a precedent set up. And the legal precedent, first of all, is that there is a ladder. There's a gateway to heaven. And when that ladder gets established, that means that the Lord is moving forth on the earth and declaring over you that he wants to establish his house in greater authority in the land. He is taking dominion back from what has been stolen, okay? So we saw that principle in Genesis 28, right? Now here we are in John chapter 1. First of all, we have to understand in this new covenant moment, this is what happens. Nathanael is bitter. He has been let down, right? He does not want to move forward in the things of God. How do we know? Because Philip comes to him and says, listen, the thing you've been waiting for your whole life is here. That thing that you're longing for, that never-ending love, that truth, that goodness, right? That thing, the thing that all of the prophets have written about for however many years, listen, that's here. Isaiah, Jeremiah, they're going to eat their hearts out because Jesus is here. I found him. Nathanael doesn't give it a second look. Boom. Can anything good from Nazareth come from Nazareth? What is he saying? Experientially, I hear what you're saying, and I've had experience about people making false promises, and it can't come to pass. What is being said about the church today? That we are double-minded, that we are not compassionate, we are not loving. So people say, come to church, and people say, I won't go to church. Can anything good come from church? I won't go back to Nazareth. I've been there on false promises before because I know what the prophet said. I've been there and I've been let down before. Look, you're gay, you're lesbian friends. I won't come to church with you. I've been there. And I know what they're going to do to me. They're going to tell me I'm going to burn in hell. I don't need anybody else to tell me I'm going to burn in hell because love has been awoken inside of me. And it has become a stronger driving force in my life. It's stronger than your conviction. Welcome to 2014. Can't bury your head in the sand anymore. This is it. So here we have this moment where Philip says to Nathanael, don't just hear the story. He says a key phrase, come and see. Yeah. Come and get your vision checked. Come and have a different experience. Don't just hear my story. Don't just let me quote a scripture to you. He could have gone into Isaiah. He could have gone into the minors. He could have gone into all the prophetical inkling before Jesus came. He says, come and see. Nathanael goes, okay, I'll do it. Listen, welcome to society. You can win more people to the Lord today by reaching out to them grassroots and saying, here's my story, listen to me, personally, one-on-one, than you can by launching a major ad campaign. We are going back to a grassroots society. We believe the testimony of our neighbor more than we believe like any other major ad campaign. Have you noticed that ads have changed in the past 2 years? They're becoming more local. They have more intelligent humor associated with them. It's not about having like the best spokesman standing behind your brand. Now it's about people having an experience while they watch your ad that makes them aligned to your product. So how many of you know the ad for like the SPCA where Sarah McLachlan sings the In the Arms of an Angel song? What the heck, man? That thing's like drugs. It makes you like have tears instantly. They show some like cat who's like, you know, and she's like, in the arms. And you're like, oh my gosh, to like rescue the animals, people, for crying out loud. Ads have changed. The world is looking for a personal experience. When they have the experience, they will fall hook, line, and sinker. But it's not about them being conned. It's that we have the real deal. So this is what Philip says to Nathanael. Don't be conned. Come and have an experience. This is where the world's at. Don't just hear a testimony or read a book. Come and have an experience. But they're not going to come to the church because Philip wouldn't go, or Nathanael wouldn't go to Nazareth. What does Jesus say? Nathanael's coming towards him, and Jesus says, behold, a man in whom there is no deceit. He sees him coming towards him. Jesus, like the father who runs to the prodigal before he gets there, speaks ahead of his time and calls order and alignment over Nathanael's atmosphere. Because Nathanael is coming. Have you ever talked to a person who comes to you angry? Have you ever wanted to just run away? You should try public speaking for a living. This group is not bad, but half the time people look like they're going to take like guns out and just like shoot you on the spot. They like have this look. You're like, I didn't know your mom. I'm sorry though for whatever happened. You know? You're like, let's just repent right now to clear the air. When you're a public speaker, it's true, isn't it? It's very true. I used to run a ministry school, and so I would be up in front all the time, and there is just nothing more terrifying than standing in front of like a room of like business professionals who have worked all day in the professional world are trying to come home and come to your school, and you're trying to teach them about Jesus. They're like, but I just closed $1 million deal. And you're like, love! And they're like, and you're like, I am sorry. Don't look at me like that. So here comes this moment. Nathanael comes walking down the road, and Jesus, seeing him before he comes, calls order into his atmosphere. There is a man in whom there is no deceit. There's no poison. There's no pollution. Here comes Nathanael, full of experiential letdowns and bitterness and distrust. And here comes Jesus, leveling the playing field, right? Calling alignment. And then Jesus, he says to him, how do you know me? Don't you love that? Nathanael, that little arrogant guy who's like, Jesus, nothing good can come from him. Jesus says, look, here's a pure man. And he's like, yeah, how do you know me? Weren't you just like saying that Jesus is a fake and a false prophet? Like literally 2 seconds before. Now you're like, hey, this guy's not so bad. He knows how to call him like he sees him. Says, how do you know me? What does Jesus say, right? We hear this story. This is the part that we use to teach about words of knowledge. Jesus says, before you came, I saw you while you were under the fig tree. He has a word of knowledge for him. But the word of knowledge is important. Why? Because it actually, Jesus speaks. He aligns the environment. Then he uses the prophetic, issuing the secrets of man's hearts. He actually qualifies the anointing that he has. He reaches out, and now he pulls Nathanael into a place, accelerating him before his time. And Nathanael says, Rabbi. His eyes get opened. In literally 3 exchanges, Nathanael says nothing good can come. Jesus says there is a man in whom there is no guile. Nathanael says, how do you know me? Jesus says, I saw you while you were under the fig tree. 4 sentences. Nathanael's whole life gets changed. That's it. 4 sentences. Four simple sentences. Changes Nathanael's whole life. Rabbi, now here's the best part. Jesus says, right, because I said this to you, do you now believe? And then he says, one of the most important parts that we can read. Verse 50, because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? You will see greater things than these. And he said to him, truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. So here's what happens. Nathanael has an encounter, has an experience with Jesus, has an experience like you and I have had, where he calls out the truth inside of who we are. He aligns our atmosphere, and he invites us and pulls us into a place of revelation about who Jesus is. Most of you have had experiences in the past 2 years. Man, you know more of God's greatness, his goodness, the love of Jesus for you today than you knew 2 years ago, correct? You have a greater revelation, a personal understanding of Jesus in your life, right? And it's more powerful today than it was 2 years ago, because we're in a season of encounter and experience. But here's the byproduct of the encounter and the experience, is that now Nathanael, Jesus says to Nathanael, because you now believe, not only are you going to believe and have an encounter with me, but now I want you to understand that legally, Jesus, I am here, and the angels of God are ascending and descending on me. The same statement that Jacob made when he was referencing his dream. Jesus in this moment establishes himself as the gateway, the connection between heaven and earth. Now, remember where we were in Colossians 1:27. We talked about Christ. Remember the mysteries hidden for the ages, which is, Christ in you, the hope of glory. This is what we have to understand. You've had the encounter. Your eyes have been opened. With the opening of your eyes and the encounter of the Lord comes the fullness and the revelation that Jesus is the gateway, the connection from earth to heaven. He is the actual connection of the releasing of heaven coming onto earth, the fullness of the glory of God being revealed to all who have ears to hear and eyes to see, all who are hungry and thirsty. He says, come by milk, by wine, come without price. The price has been paid for you because I'm Jesus and I paid the price. And now we go to Colossians 1:27 and another transfer happens. Genesis 28. There is a ladder. There is a connection. It comes. Authority moves forth to take the land and establish the house of God. John chapter 1, Jesus comes. Have the encounter. When you have the encounter, you get access to the gateway. Why? Because Colossians 1:27, you now aren't just having access to the gateway, which is Jesus. Now you are the access, the gateway to heaven itself and to the glory of God itself. Okay? It's a progressive understanding. God in his genius and his wisdom, before one day of your life was ever lived, thousands of years ago, gave a man a dream. And he set a legal precedent in the spiritual realm in place. That where there is a ladder and the angels ascend and descend, so there is authority to take the land. And then he fast forwarded. And then he gave a man an experience where the man, in all of his bitterness, took a walk of faith and had an encounter with Jesus. And Jesus, in 4 simple statements, corrected the atmosphere over the man and invited him and opened his eyes into a revelatory relationship where he could again see that Jesus was the gateway, was the ladder, was where the angels of God ascended and descended. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Jesus, the fullness, the manifestation of God's goodness, reveals and releases this in all of his life. Jesus is the most perfect example of God's glory moving forth on the earth. He is the most complete example. He took God's glory and he gave it flesh and he gave it hair and he gave it a voice and he gave it eyes. How do we know this? Go to Exodus 33. Everybody okay? Good times, great oldies, right? Just like bring it, okay? Okay, now then, Moses, 33, verse 12. Moses said to the Lord, see, you say to me, bring up this people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. That you have said, I know you by name, and you have also found favor in my sight, which means Moses has increasing the ability of God to give him more responsibility. We think favor means like you win the lotto. Correction. That's not what it means. It means you have more responsibility of how you wield your influence for the kingdom. Okay, now here we go. Verse 13. Now therefore, if I have found favor in your sight, please show me now your ways. That's important. Underline that. That I may know you in order to find favor in your sight, and consider too that this nation is your people. And he said to him, this is important, my presence will go with you and I will give you rest. And he said to him, if your presence will not go with me, do not bring us up from here. For how shall it be known that I have found favor in your sight, I and your people? Is it not in your going with us, so that we are distinct, I and your people, from every other people on the face of the earth? Now verse 17. And the Lord said to Moses, this very thing that you have spoken, I will do for you have found favor in my sight, and I know you by name. And now Moses said, please show me your glory. Now listen, this use of the word glory is comes from the same root as the use of the word glory when we read it in Colossians. When it says Christ in you, the hope of glory, and when it says, and Moses says, now please show me your glory. If you really study the language down to their roots, it's coming from the root word that is talking about doxia. And when you're in that word, that original word actually talks about the fullness of the person of God, his personality, his ways of thinking, his ways. Remember Moses said, please show me your ways. The ways of God, the fullness of who God is coming in. And we saw it primarily through the life of Jesus. Then it's promised to be revealed to us. Christ in us, the fullness of Christ in us, the spirit of the power of the resurrected Lamb, the resurrected Son of God in us, moving with the access and the authority of heaven coming onto earth, allows us to have the potential when we call the lost sons home for the glory, the fullness of his person to be revealed on the earth, not lacking in any way or any shape or any image. Now go back to Exodus 33, and Moses says, now God, I won't leave here without your presence. Now show me your glory. Why does Moses say that? Because at the time, Jesus hasn't come on the scene. So God is actually bound and restricted by historically the redemptive nature of who he is. He cannot give his glory to Moses to go because Jesus hasn't come on the earth yet. So all that Moses has is the presence. So all that Moses can bring with him is the presence, the presence, the presence. But we are not under that covenant. Jesus has come. Not only has Jesus come, but he has resurrected. He has overtaken. He is seated at the right hand of the Father. Colossians 20:27 gives us legal access and legal right to have the same heavenly access that Jacob dreamed about and that Jesus released in John chapter 1. But we are not under the old covenant of Moses. So we pray, God, we want your presence, we want your goodness. But God, our prayer gets to change. Moses had to say, let your presence go with me, now show me your glory. We get to say, God, I want your presence and I want your glory to go with me. You know, this is stretching for some of you. But if you do not legally understand what you have access to, you will become a dull blade. And when you go to have an exact cut, you will make a mess. There is an excellent standard. How many times was the word favor used in that passage? How many times did the Lord speak to Moses about having favor, having influence, having responsibility? And before we move to that place, it starts with encounter. It starts with you and I becoming singularly focused. God, I want your presence. I want to know you. God, I want to see your glory. Father, I just don't want the kabod, God. I don't just want the heaviness, God. I want the clarity of who you are. I want to know your ways. I want to know all of who you are. Father, I want you to establish me as a ladder, God, as a visitation place of heaven coming on earth. God, I want to partner with the power of the resurrected Christ, the same spirit that raised Christ from the dead that lives inside of me, Father, so that I may go and be a light, that I don't just have the essence of you, but I walk and carry the fullness of who you are, so that even the shadow that I cast would heal and bring resurrection and bring life, because all of creation has been crying out for the manifested sons of God. So Father, I love your presence. I want to be overtaken by your presence, but God, I want your glory. I want your glory to go with me, God. Father, because I want the completeness and the fullness of who you are, because God, there are orphans who do not know you, and the fullness of who you are has not hit the earth. So God, legally, I take my stand. Christ is in me. I am the hope of glory. God, I am a walking connection of heaven, invading, overtaking, overshadowing earth. So God, I want the fullness of who you are. God, all of your ways, all of your measure, the truth, the goodness, the richness, the fat. God, I want it all. I want you to awaken love and make me singularly focused so that, God, I can be a voice. And wherever I go, Father, like the lost will come. God, they'll be drawn. They'll be overwhelmed. God, I want to be like a blank canvas that you paint your glory on, Father. I want to be unrelenting and unyielding. And I want to be so excellent in my pursuit of you that you entrust me with favor upon favor upon favor upon favor God, so I can move forward. Father, there can be a release of authority to take back and establish the house of God and the land again. God, I know Moses asked for your glory and he wanted your presence. But God, I want to see your glory and I want your glory to go with me. I want your glory to be revealed through me. I want the fullness of who you are to come out of me. God, I partner with the truth, the finished work of the cross. God, that I am an heir, a co-heir of salvation. I am a son, I am a daughter. God, that I am unrelenting and unyielding to you. So God, I ask, Lord, Father, I ask for favor. I ask for promotion, God. I ask that you would awaken inside of me a love that eclipses every uncomfortable, every burdening, every place that seems to compromise who I am. Would you just awaken and align me, God, because I want to be a voice of influence, because God, I am unrelenting, Father, until you have a full and complete picture of not just the saints, God, but the fullness of your glory, which is only complete, God, when your lost sons and your lost daughters come home. God, I want the fullness. So, Father, over this room right now, God, I ask for an increase of understanding, an increase of revelation, God, even tonight. Father, some of us, even right now, some of you just need to say, God, awaken love in me. God, align me, make me unrelenting. God, make me a singularly focused person. Father, I call my soul into alignment. I call my body into alignment. Listen, I just declare this over you that as you begin to move forward in the revelation of understanding God's glory, you're going to see creative miracles come. Because a creative miracle isn't a healing, it's a transformation. And so, like weight loss isn't a healing, it's a transformation that happens in the body. And even like some of you, there's like Down syndrome and issues with autism where God is actually going to use like glory to supersede and overstep what doctors have said is incurable. It's like a transformation. If I have pins in my ankle from surgery, I don't actually need a healing. I need a transformation. I need a glory transformation. I need to go from glory to glory to be transformed, but I need the revealing of that glory in this instant, and I am the hope of glory. I am the hope of the revelation, the revealing, and the transformation. So, Father, right now, God, I just ask for wisdom and revelation. God, I ask for understanding to come on us. God, that even in our spirits where we felt like we couldn't quite keep up, God, that there was a maturing that happened inside of us today. Father, that makes us like a finely sharpened tool in your hand, God, to move forward in the fullness of what you've called us to. So, Father, I say yes and amen to the finished work of the cross. And I say yes and amen to a mature people who are releasing the fullness of God's glory on the earth. God, that you are accelerating us and speeding us up because you are calling us to be ahead of the times. In Jesus' name, amen.